Welcome to a new video from FC Mastery Path. This is Mo, and I'm glad to be your presenter today. This video belongs to a series of videos where we're going to be discussing the data that we receive on a daily basis in the construction realm and how we can transform the data into a more enhanced format that is easy to analyze and process. In today's video, we're going to be shedding the light on how we can use the advanced editor within Power Query in order to carry out a number of them tasks, including saving specific rows and lists, splitting rows into a number of them columns using a delimiter, and bulk renaming of columns from one table using columns from other tables. And also we're going to be shedding the light on how you can convert irregular data into standardized data formats and then append various datasets in one. Our video today is going to be composed of three parts. The first part is a problem statement. The second part is methods to think about the solution. The third part is going to be implementing the solution. And now, without further ado, let's get started. In today's video, we're going to be discussing quite an interesting group of datasets. The first dataset is related to electrical payments, the second dataset is related to mechanical claims, and the third dataset is related to civil engineering costs and claims. There are a variety of them problems with these datasets. The first one is the datasets that are grouped all in one cell, and the delimiter is the absolute sign. The column names are quite different between the three datasets, however the essence is the same. The currency in the datasets, they are different. In the first dataset, it's a dollar sign and the comma separator. The second dataset, it's a whole number. The third dataset, it's a decimal number with a comma separator. The column before the last one, which is the status or the payment status, the wording is different between the datasets. However, the essence is the same. And there is also a change in the letters cases. So here it's uppercase for the first letter and here is lowercase. The date format is different between the three datasets. The first dataset relies on having the day and then the month in MMM format and then the year. The second dataset relies on having the year first and then the month and then the day. And the last dataset is resembling a little bit the first dataset, but instead of having MMM as the format for the month, it's just MM. And lastly, the retention percentage, which is two columns before the last one, is different between the three datasets. In the first dataset, it's provided in a percentage format. In the second dataset, it's provided in a whole number format. And in the third dataset, it's provided in a decimal format. We need to tackle these 6 problems, sort them out, and then compile these 3 datasets into one dataset for further analysis. So we need to think about a solution to sort out this problem. So what I have done is I've taken copies of the 3 datasets in 3 different sheets, and then let's start with creating a table of the first dataset. And the process is quite repetitive, so I'm going to be showing you how to do it for the first table, and then I'm going to be showing you the end result for the other 2 tables. I have taken a copy of this table or this dataset here and then converted it into a table using Ctrl+T. And then make sure that my table has headers, tick that box. You can go to Table Design tab up top while clicking inside the table. And let's change it to be Electrical Payments. Press Enter, and then we can go to the Data tab from Table Arrange in the Get and Transform group. That's going to open the Power Query. We need first to remove the unnecessary applied steps. Change type is always one of them applied steps that might mess about with the data, and we need to remove it. That's the first or the raw display of the table, and we want to reach out this end result where we have different columns split out with proper naming conventions and proper format for each and every single column. In order to do this, we need to open first the advanced editor, and there are a number of steps that we need to account for. The first step we need to do is get the header text of each and every single column. And then we need to split the header text with the delimiter into a number of them cells in an array. And then we can split the columns of the array or of the table that we do possess into different columns using the absolute sign delimiter. At this point in time, we'll have clumsy column headers for the columns in the split table. So we will need to change the column headers to make the best use of the split header text. And then finally, what we need to have is changing the format of irregular data into the right format. And now we're going to be starting with the last section of this video, which is going to be implementing the steps and the solution in the advanced editor. So I haven't understood the list of issues that we have in the datasets and haven't understood the steps that we need to undertake. Let's now start with the first step, which is getting the content of the headers of the different columns to be split via the absolute sign delimiter. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to have an array which includes the first entry of this table. We're going to be starting with giving a name for this variable, which is header text. We have first to have a comma here so that we can type in the next step. So header text, that's going to be equal to table.column names, and then the table that we want to extract the column names of is called the source, which is in the step before. And we want the first entry, and if we change that one here to be header text, we will see what's going to happen. Press done, and we have now extracted the headers of the columns. We're still a long way to go. The next step will be splitting these headers with the absolute sign. So split headers, that's going to be the name of the step, and then text.split. We want to split the header text, so text as text, that's going to be the header text, and the separator as text, so the separator itself is going to be the absolute sign. I'll have to add the comma here, and let's see this step, split headers. Split them out in a list. We don't want this to happen like this, but we're gonna rectify this later on. But at least we have split all of them columns into different entities or different cells. Let's go back to the advanced editor. Split the rest of the rows of the data set into different columns. Let me call the step split columns, and that's going to be equal to table.split column. We have to specify a table, so the table that we want to specify is the source table. The source column as text and the splitter as function. So the source column is going to be the header text, the splitter as function. So there's a function called splitter and then split by delimiter, and the delimiter in our case is going to be the absolute sign. And let me put the split columns at the end in the in part of the code so that we can see the end result. So as you could see here, it split out the contents of the table, but still the headers are clumsy. We're going to sort out this problem. So change the titles of the split columns to be correct, and for this we're going to be creating another step. Let's call it renamed columns, and that's going to be equal to the table.rename columns. And this function is quite interesting because you have to insert a table and you have to insert what you want to change in a list format. So let's start with the first argument, which is the table. So the table is going to be the split columns table, which is from the previous step. And in order to input what we want to rename, the old text and the new text, we have to put them as a list. So there's a function in Power Query called list.zip. The list.zip function, it allows the end user to insert lists. It has only one argument. So in order to provide an array of elements that need to be accounted for, we'll have to use the curly brackets. So the first argument in the curly bracket is going to be the column names of the split columns table. So the table.column names, the table that we want to refer to is split columns, and then the new text that we want to be used in the renaming. So it's going to be the split headers, which is basically the split of the mixed headers. We have to change this last input or output in the in part of the code to renamed columns, and when I press done, you'll find that it's sorted out. The last piece here basically change the format of the different columns to suit the content. So let's start with the date. So the date, if you click on the ABC here, it's read as text, but it should be actually a date. So if you click on ABC, choose date, that's changed to a date. The retention percentage is read as a text as well. So click on it and choose percentage. That is read already as a text, that's fine. And these three, they should be read as a currency. However, if you do that, you will see that there's an error, and there is a reason for this. So we can remove the last number of steps by going to the original code itself. So we need first to replace the $sign, and the way to do this is fairly simple. So go to replace values, and the value to find is the dollar, replace with nothing. So now we have gotten rid of the dollar, and we need to change the type to currency, and now it's working perfectly fine. The last thing that we need to add is a custom column giving the essence or the meaning or the context of this table, which is electrical payments. And the way to do this is go to add column, custom column, and let's call it payment discipline. And we can type in electrical, press OK, and you'll have that one here done. So I haven't done the first sheet or the first table, which is electrical payments. I've already done the mechanical claims, exactly the same process. However, there is two small changes that we need to do. In the retain percentage, when I changed it to a percentage format, it gave me 1000%, which should be 10%. So in order to do this, we have to add a new column, go to add column and then custom column, and let's call it retain percentage modified so that we don't get any errors. And then let's put the retain percentage divided by 100. And if we press on OK, and we need to change the type by clicking on ABC123 here and then change it to percentage, we can change the order and then delete the old retain percentage. There is one last step that we need to do before finishing off that table. The header columns here, they have different namings than electrical payments. So electrical payments, it started with contract number, description, claimed amount, previous claimed, current month. And mechanical claims, it started with project ID, work packages and the likes. So we need to have a uniformity so that when we append all of them 3 data sets, they are added on top of one another. And in order to do this, we can do it in a way that is quite dynamic. So if you go here to the advanced editor, and then we can add just one last step at the end, I will change the naming of removed columns to be, instead of hashtags and the 2 inverted commas, so that it's easy to reference it in other steps. And we can call it mechanical claims column rename. That's going to be equal table.rename columns. We're going to be specifying the name of the table where it contains the alt text that needs to be renamed. So the name of the table is removed columns, which is the one from the previous step. And then we have to input the old and the new text into the form of a list. So list.zip. The old and the new text are going to be entered between curly brackets in the form of an array. So table.column names, and the table is going to be the removed columns. And the new text, which is going to replace the old text, is the column names in the electrical payments table. So table.column names, and it's going to be electrical payments. And we have to change the output under the in clause. So it's going to be mechanical claims column rename. And if I press done, you have it here. Everything is done and dusted. The same naming conventions of the column headers is following what we have in the electrical payments. I've undertaken the same procedure for the civil progress, and we have everything done and intact. Before visualization or before summarizing the whole dataset, we need to compile all of them 3 tables together. So we can go to home and then append queries as new, and we have 3 or more tables. We can choose these 3 tables by pressing shift and left click and then add. We can press OK, and we can call that table consolidated data. We have here some stuff that needs to be done. We need to change some aspects in the status column. So in order to start changing, we need first to have the same case of the letters. So we can press on the status column itself. We can go to transform, and then within the transform, we can go to the text column here and then press on format, and we can press on lowercase. And now everything is lowercase. We can also press on the trim. So choose trim from the format, so that will make sure that everything is trimmed and every unnecessary space has been removed. And as you can see here, I think there was a space at the beginning that was removed. We now need to replace the space and then review in here. And also we need to replace the in review with the dash between in and review with nothing. Let's make these 2 changes. So replace values. So the value that we want to find is pending and then review, and then it's going to be only pending. What we need as well is replace also the in dash review with in review. Replace values in dash review with in review. We can also make it a bit more understandable to the end user by going to format and then capitalize each word, and that way it's in much better condition. And then we can go to home, close and load to, add to the data model. Press OK. It's going to take a little bit of time, and then it just contains 36 rows. You can press on insert pivot table, and then you will find an option called from data model. We can choose the existing worksheet. We have here consolidated data. We can add the contract number. We can also add what was claimed in every discipline. claimed amount in the values, previous month, current month. The format is already intact. We can do lots of them edits in Power Data as a DAX measure or in Power BI, however you see fit, and we can add some slices, such as going to the pivot table, analyze, and then insert slicer. And then the slicer could be based on the payment discipline, so that we can understand the stance of each and every single contract. The previous claimed and these ones, you could do lots of operations on them. So if you don't want the sum, it could be any of these operations in the pivot table, depending on your see fit. All the files that are presented in this series, they are saved on one of my GitHub repositories called Construction Data Analytics. You can navigate to this website by going to github.com/marshaw93/construction data analytics. And if you're interested in the deployment of AI in the construction industry, you can explore my other repositories. I have a wide variety of repositories with mini and large projects related to the AI machine learning deployment in the construction industry. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you found this video useful and insightful. I've prepared a couple of other videos about fine-tuning large language models and deploying them to Open UI. I'm going to be putting the links in the description below. You can also pay my website a visit at www.apcmasterypath.co.uk, where I provide multiple packages for the RSS APC candidates to support them throughout their RSCS journey. Also, I provide lots of insights about the RSS APC process, the different areas of competence, and how you can deploy AI within the construction industry. Do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that you get notified about our latest videos.